Florida Republican Kat Cammack, member of the House Homeland Security Committee. Good to see you, Congresswoman. Speaker Pelosi is going to be talking at the top of the hour. Is she going, and should she go to Taiwan?
Oh, well, you know, it's good to be here, but also we don't know exactly what the schedule is going to look like. We just heard this morning that Nancy Pelosi is putting forward a federal weapons, assault weapons ban on the floor. So we will be voting late into the night, taking on this particular fight here at home. So I don't know what that means exactly for her travel plans, but we need to be very clear. Regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, we don't take threats from China. We don't take threats from anybody kindly, and we do not take our foreign policy cues from the Chinese Communist Party. And so I think it's important that Congress sends a very clear message that we are our own nation, we are a sovereign nation, and we have a long and established relationship with Taiwan, and I believe it to be an independent and sovereign Taiwan. That being said, I think given the weakness of this administration, it's important that Congress steps up and fills that gap that has been left by this administration and their foreign policy that is rooted in disarray.
As we were reporting at the top of the hour, that the White House has been trying to dissuade Nancy Pelosi from visiting Taiwan quietly, if you will. But do you think that she will have the gumption and the guts to defy the White House and go?
You know, that remains to be seen. I know that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have carried the water for this failed administration repeatedly on a number of issues. But Nancy Pelosi, she's an old hand at this. She knows the long-term relationship that is at stake there. She knows the importance of establishing that message loud and clear that threats will not be tolerated. So given the fact that the Biden administration is floundering, I don't think that Nancy Pelosi is going to put much weight into what the administration wants or doesn't want, at least not publicly. She's going to do what she wants to do because she always has. And so I think that you're going to see a bipartisan delegation make their way out there to the island of 23 million or so people, and we'll see what that outcome is and what the response is. But we need to take a stand, and we will not cower down to the Chinese government.
And that was Jackie Heinrich reporting that for us. Moving on to this new video showing a busload of migrants arriving in Washington, D.C. from Texas early this morning, one of many over the last few weeks. Mayor Muriel Bowser facing backlash for this.
We need the federal government to be involved. So I've asked for the deployment of the Guard, as long as we need the Guard to deal with a humanitarian crisis that we expect to escalate.
Border agents and the governor of Texas say that D.C. has only seen a fraction of the chaos, the humanitarian crisis, to use her words, that the southern face every single day thanks to Biden administration policies. Listen to Texas Congressman Chip Roy with Tucker Carlson.
It's interesting hearing the mayor of Washington, D.C., which is where I'm sitting right now, complaining about 4,000 people on 200 buses that Governor Abbott has sent to Washington, D.C. since April, running to the Pentagon saying, oh, my gosh, we need the National Guard. Oh, well, you know what? Cry me a frickin' river, right? You know, welcome to the party, pal.
Congresswoman, it's a sanctuary city. The mayor could call ICE and have these illegal migrants deported, but I guess she's going to call the National Guard instead.
Listen, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And in this case, they have declared themselves a sanctuary city, so they're going to get every ounce of what that means. It's exactly correct that they haven't begun to experience a fraction of what our border communities or the rest of Americans are experiencing at the hands of this reckless open border policy. And so we need to actually send a message that the border communities, Texas and other destinations around the country, are not going to be carrying the burden of these failed policies. We have opioid addiction raging out of control as a result of what is happening with these narcotics coming across. The social services that they tout are free and available to non-citizens. Well, now they're complaining that they're getting stretched because they're giving these illegals cash benefits, health insurance, educational benefits, and food stamps. Well, it's time to take care of America first. This is what the America First policy was all about, and it's about national security. So if she wants to activate the National Guard, that's on her. But it's not going to stop until we secure the border, and until then, they're going to feel the pain equally.
Well, talking about securing the border, the Biden administration has quietly approved construction to finish a section of the border wall near Yuma, Arizona. even though President Biden promised this.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. Number one, I'm going to make sure that we have border protection, but it's going to be based on making sure that we use high-tech capacity to deal with it.
Now look for feet and feet of wall.
You know, this is just crazy to me. I mean, it is all smoke and mirrors, total distraction, and they have never cared about securing the border. I think you look at what they were doing with H.R. 1, the For the Politicians Act, and trying to allow non-citizens to vote. Now we've got over 3 million illegals here in the country. It is blown up into a full-blown invasion, and now they're starting to see the consequences. Their Democrat-held cities are floundering, and you have people like Eric Adams in New York City, and of course Mayor Bowser here in D.C., that are screaming at the top of their lungs that their folks aren't happy. They're more concerned with a political agenda than doing the right thing. And if they were serious and if they were smart, they would tout that they were giving us the resources and our Border Patrol agents the items that they need in order to do their jobs, because we know that the wall is a force multiplier. But he's not going to do that, and his poll numbers are going to sink as a result. And again, this is what happens when you put politics above people.
Let's finally talk about climate protesters striking again, this time trying to shut down the congressional baseball game in D.C. last night. There were several groups gathered at National Stadium, at least 3 people arrested. Just before the first pitch, the protesters moved to block the center field gate. Police formed a line to separate them from the crowd, protesters calling for more action on climate issues.
Every single living thing on this planet is in danger if we don't act on climate now. Congress needs to pass climate legislation, and Biden needs to declare a climate emergency yesterday.
We're all in jeopardy. We're all in jeopardy of going extinct even. There's going to be a catastrophe. Billions of people are going to suffer, and Congress and the president have done next to nothing.
Congresswoman, you played in that game. What was it like, the game and seeing these protesters removed?
You know, honestly, I don't think anyone, especially the players, we didn't really notice any of their antics because, I mean, we were so focused on the game. It's for a great cause, raising over $1.7 million for charity. And what I did see was a very interesting display of so-called environmental action. It's very curious that their way of getting attention is throwing a bunch of paper around, wasting paper. I've never seen anyone who says they're environmentally conscious to go about and just litter everywhere, but I guess to each his own. You know, I think that they are doing more harm than good when it comes to actually promoting their message, because they do it in such a way that even those that would sympathize with their cause, they look at them and say, you're kind of stupid. So they're really hurting their cause. It didn't really impact the game. It was more entertainment value than anything. And I think that if they're serious about it, they should think about future tactics, being a little bit more productive and open and kind.
There was a big climate protest in New York City a few years ago, and they all came to New York in these old diesel burning buses that were just belching exhaust. And if you're rich, you fly in on a private jet. So again,
hypocrisy of the left.
Exactly.